Beloved Saints, today's 5-minute message of redemptive history is about Eliashib in the genealogy of the high priest from the 6th book of the Redemptive History series, the eternal high priest of the covenantal oath. When we look at Nehemiah 12 verse 10, Eliashib was Joachim's son, and he was the 26th generation high priest in the genealogy. He was also the third high priest of the period of the post-exile. His name, Eliashib, in Hebrew is a combination of the words El, meaning God, and Shuv, meaning restores. Thus the name means God restores. First, Eliashib was a leader in repairing the northern walls of Jerusalem. After the third group of Jews returned from Babylon, Jerusalem's city walls were rebuilt under the direction of Nehemiah. The Tower of the 100 and the Tower of Hananel belonged to the northern wall, the most dangerous area, where the threat of attack was the highest. Eliashib, however, was the first to lead the work to rebuild the northern wall. Nehemiah 3 verse 1 states, Eliashib the high priest arose with his brothers the priests and rebuilt the sheep gate. They consecrated it and hung its doors. They consecrated the wall to the Tower of the 100 and the Tower of Hananel. In such a way, as the high priest, Eliashib encouraged the people by taking the lead in rebuilding the wall and setting an example for them. Second, Eliashib prepared a large room in the temple for Tobiah, and he allowed his grandson to become Sanballat's son-in-law. Everyone, who was Tobiah? Tobiah was an Ammonite who tenaciously disrupted the rebuilding of the city walls. Nehemiah 4 verse 3 states, Now Tobiah the Ammonite was near him, and he said, Even what they are building, if a fox should jump on it, he would break their stone wall down. While Nehemiah returned to Persia briefly and was away from Jerusalem, Eliashib the high priest built a relationship with Tobiah, who disrupted the construction of the city walls. Moreover, Eliashib gave Tobiah a large room in the house of God. When Nehemiah became aware of this later on, he was filled with holy wrath, and he threw all Tobiah's household goods out of the room and cleansed the room. He then returned the utensils of the house of God with the grain offerings and the frankincense to the room. This is recorded in Nehemiah 13, verses 8 to 9. Everyone, who was Sanballat? He was a Horonite, a Gentile. He was an enemy who interfered with the rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls. Nehemiah 4 verse 1 states, Now it came about that when Sanballat heard that we were rebuilding the wall, he became furious and very angry and mocked the Jews. However, Nehemiah 13 verse 28 states that one of the Eliashib's grandson and Joiada's son became a son-in-law of Sanballat, the Horonite. Everyone, when the Israelites had returned from the exile in Babylon, they had vowed that they would not intermarry with the Gentiles. Nonetheless, the vow had been broken by the high priest's household. Moreover, they had intermarried with the family of Sanballat, the enemy who had interfered with the rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls. This was truly a grave sin. Beloved saints, how are we compared to Eliashib? At first, Eliashib set an example for the people by taking the lead in the work to rebuild the city walls. But later, he sinned greatly before God by intermarrying with the Gentile family that was an enemy of Israel. Are we also the same? Everyone, I hope that we will recover our first faith. Thus, like the meaning of Eliashib's name, may God restore us of our first faith so that we will remain humble, not arrogant. Let us humbly bow down before God and recover our initial passionate faith. I bless in the name of the Lord.